Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It, and I finally got a chance to see Tenet, thanks to LA allowing it to be played in drive-in. So I'm gonna give you my thoughts on Christopher Nolan's newest film right after the jump. Real quick, if you haven't already, go ahead and like, share, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. So, Christopher Nolan has given us another one of his time-bending, scale-busting type of flicks. And I'll say this, if nothing else, when Christopher Nolan releases a film, whether you love it or you hate it, or you're indifferent on it, he is important to the landscape of filmmaking because he makes stuff that is original and that is new and that is fresh, and he gives a voice to the creatives instead of always trying to kind of do IPs that exist or projects that always exist. So kudos to him for that. I leave that to say there has been a knock on Christopher Nolan for a very long time that he has a very difficult time creating and writing for female characters. After seeing Tenet, I don't think that's the issue because I think the most important or most interesting character in this film is Elizabeth Debicki's character. But that's not saying much because I think I've come to a realization that Christopher Nolan just has a hard time writing human characters, period. There is a very big disconnect for me with the characters and the characterizations of people in this film. This movie creates characters, one of them, which we never, for John David Washington, we never get an actual name. He's just known as the protagonist, which that's a choice. Directors have done that before. We don't get the lead character an actual name. We give him an alias, if you will. Fine. Well, we spend this entire film talking about some characters that, when it's all said and done, I just don't care about. They are very one note. They are very dry, cold. There's no humanity to them. And so when you do a thing like Christopher Nolan, where he's putting plot device on top of plot device on top of plot device, where it can be confusing, but the confusing part isn't, while yes is an issue, that does become more of a like I'm layering time bending on inversion and reversion and all of that. It can be a lot for an audience. I think audiences are a lot more acceptable to that type of stuff if there's a person that you care about. Like Inception, which is another Christopher Nolan film that deals with time and layering plot in on top of plot device. We end up caring about those characters, so it's a little easier to go through. This film, Tenet, is designed to watch multiple times. Like he wants you actively to watch this probably 2 or 3 times. After watching it once, I have absolutely no desire to watch this film again because there's not a character that draws me back into like, okay, I want to figure this out. I want to go through this, or I want to figure out all of this. I don't care enough to ever go back to this. And I think Christopher Nolan does everything correct with this film as far as the technical aspects. There's some shots, the scale of these shots and the scale of the way the stuff is shot. Ludwig's score, I think the ability to do reverse shots and reverse shots and get everything to match and be correct is great. But at the very end of all of this, I personally cannot watch a film and just be admiring the technical aspects of it. For me as a film goer, I can give you all the kudos in the world. Like, oh, he's making what looks like a beautiful film. But if I don't care about anybody, then I am not at all entertained by that film. And that's sort of what happened with me with Tenet. I think he makes, for if you check off all the boxes of how directing should be and how scale should be and how visual effects should be and how the score should be, you make a good film in that aspect. But it becomes a very tonally dry and just dark and cold film that I never grasp onto. This is very much Christopher Nolan's Bond film. Like he's made a spy film, and at the very bare bones of this, when you take all the time layering and all that stuff out of it, it is his spy epic. But even with those spy epic movies, when you have like Mission Impossible or the Bond films, there is a humanity to the lead character or some type of charisma or characterization to the lead character. And don't get me wrong, I think John David Washington is a phenomenal actor. I've seen him in Black Klansman. I've seen him in Ballers. There is range to him. I feel like Nolan made him make a choice to be like, I want you to play this one note and be cold and be dark and have no type of connection with the audience. And because of that, because there's a layer of like, I can't connect with him or I can't connect really with Robert Pattinson, or there's no type of up or down. And levity's not the word. There's just some type of human nature that doesn't exist in this film. So it feels more like I'm watching an exercise in filmmaking than I'm watching a film or a movie. And that's where my disconnect comes from. And it's happened before with Christopher Nolan. I think Interstellar was another one of those where it's like I'm watching a great filmmaker do filmmaking as opposed to watching a great filmmaker, make a movie. And he's with Inception and Dark Knight and Batman Begins and Prestige, I saw a great filmmaker making a really good to great movie. With Inception, I mean with Tenet and with Interstellar, I've seen a really great filmmaker make a really great technical art piece. And it sucks. Again, that's not to say that I'm anti Chris Nolan because I think he is still one of the greatest filmmakers of our generation. I just think sometimes he can make things where the end goal is to see how cool and how pretty and how much I can throw at the audience first before making a good character. And for me, Tenet doesn't work because of that. I think it is a great film to watch. I think you should if you have a high def screen and you finally get it on TV. If you have a theater that's available to you and you want to watch an IMAX, by all means, go watch it. But just know that when it's all said and done, there's not one character that you're going to walk out of this film giving a rat's ass about. Which sucks. Which kind of makes it very hard to go through a 2 hour and 40-minute film. Confusion is an issue with this movie, not because it's overly confusing. There are a lot of time bending and it goes this and this and this and this and this. Yes, that can be confusing. That confusion is very, very diluted if there's a character or somebody that I give a rat's ass about or I care about in this movie to make that confusion more palatable. I think you have Inception can be confusing, but Leonardo DiCaprio's character in that movie is endearing. There's something about him, his elevator going down to the bottom floor and going through the mind stuff in his dreams and going up. Like there's a character that you want to go along that journey and that ride with. There's nobody here for that, so the confusion stuff, you can start pinpointing more and pointing more at the plot and the cumbersomeness of it all because you're not paying attention to the other things. You're now narrowed in and focused on the plot or the devices that are being used, and thus confusion is the only thing that seems to be said a lot for Tenet because you don't care about the characters. It's interesting because I think where sometimes Christopher Nolan gets into an issue is that he needs more collaborators as a writer. Because I think he gets all the technical aspects. I think they can always say work together and like, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to do this. But I think there should always be somebody that comes in on the back end of his stuff to give his characters humanity. Because I think what I'm consistently seeing in films where he is the sole writer and sole creator of the entire project is that his movies feel cold. And I don't want him to get into this thing where every single time he writes something, it's not just the female characters anymore that feel like they're flat or cold or don't have any type of oomph to them. It's now just humans, period. But those are my thoughts. What did you guys think about Tenet? Have you seen it? Let me know. Go ahead and leave your comments in the comments below. If you liked it, go ahead and say, hey, Terrence, you're full of shit. That's fine too. For me, this particular one is on the bottom end of the Nolan stuff. I didn't even do my scale because that's how much I don't care about this movie. But on my scale of once is enough, play it again, Sam, or give me a time stone so I never have to see this film again. It's not that bad because I think it is a technically proficient film. But once is enough. I never have to watch this again. And I think the conceit of this is that you want to watch this again. And I walked away saying, nah, I'm good. Once is enough. But those are my thoughts. Leave your comments in the comments below. Let me know what you guys thought about it. If you haven't, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI, or you can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast by the same name that is on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts. We are there. But like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.